Hi guys, it's Rory here at Oliver Bernard. Welcome to another Golang in London. Today I'm speaking to Paul, very experienced engineer who self-taught with Go and worked across various applications with that. So keen to hear his thoughts today. Hi Paul, how's it going?
Yeah, went well. Yes, just finished off doing some Go work for work. Yeah.
Good to hear. So yeah, I mean, if you give a brief sort of introduction to yourself and how you came to work with the language initially, that would be great.
Okay. So I'm going to start from the point where I joined IBM, and then I left IBM to join a startup, and then to another startup, and now to another startup. So I'm going to do that. Explain my background that way.
Great.
So back when I was doing in IBM, I was working with the cloud, and then I was exposed to Go for the first time. Um, I came from a mobile background. I was working with Swift, and I thought Swift was going to be the language for back-end development, but it didn't turn out to be that case. And then I was exposed to doing some Go, and I found the language to be fantastically easy. And then in IBM, I transitioned into doing their blockchain stuff, which was mainly written in Go. The chain code or smart contract were also written in Go. So that became something that I started working on, and Go was a tremendously easy language, and the easiest language I've ever encountered. It took me less than 2 or 3 weeks to even get to grips with the fundamentals, and then less than a month I was able to work on fairly advanced project itself. I couldn't do that with most other languages itself. I mean, I've not done Python, so I don't know about that. I cannot comment on that. But certainly coming from a background that I used to do Swift in Java. Java was probably the most complex language itself, in my opinion. And moving to Go was tremendously easy. And then I left IBM to join a startup, and that was where I focused a lot on doing a blockchain based on Hyperledger Fabric that was written in Go. And yeah, it was fantastic as well. I mean, even during IBM, when I was leading a team of people who were Java developers, and they had to write a smart contract in Go. I was given like less than a month to get the thing done, and in half a day I could get my team up and ready to do a fairly sophisticated Go smart contract itself. So you can see that the power of the language itself. So that's where I've been doing lots of Go. And then I joined another startup, which was to do a lot of Kubernetes and orchestration work itself. Uh, Initially, a lot of the work was done in Node.js, and I tried to persuade the company to switch to Go. So I developed the some of the back-end element in Go, especially the CLI aspect in Go, because I found that even though you're doing Node.js for the front end, if you do the back end in Go, the API aspect of it in Go, it makes your life a lot easy because, for example, the app itself had to interact with other apps using gRPC. And because your back end is all written in Go, it makes it so much more easier. And if you have a lot of high parallelization work that you need to do, for example, in some blockchain activity, you can use the Go concurrency, and you can do it very easily, and then just leave the front end Node.js to become a, a dumb, UI itself. So my recent job now that I've joined is doing IoT, but a lot of it is done on AWS Lambda, and so surprisingly, Lambda in AWS support Go, so that makes life even 10 times a lot easier to do. You just very few lines of code, you can do lots of stuff. Yeah. So this is a bit of a background. Yeah.
Makes sense. And it's certainly interesting to hear how Go can be picked up relatively easily and pretty quickly, working on sort of highly complex applications. So you can see why a lot of startups are favoring it at the moment. Going back to blockchain just quickly, I know that's something a lot of people are interested in these days. And you mentioned you've worked on various blockchain projects. What would you say is it specifically about Go that lends itself to blockchain versus other languages?
I don't know. I might be biased because most of the blockchain stuff I do were written in Go. For example, right now I'm investigating the use of Geth, which is written in Go. I think the vast majority of people who are working doing data mining are using the Go version of the Ethereum rather than Node.js. But again, I could be biased because the group of people I'm talking to tend to be in Go. Now, this is more like a speculation on my part. I guess because Go has so many of the functionalities that you can do related to, for example, writing simple things like consensus mechanism and everything. Go is such a small language, and everything you need is there, which probably explain why, for example, Hyperledger Fabric uses Go. And secondly, Hyperledger Fabric is one aspect of a blockchain that is very uses container intensively. So doing it in Go makes sense. Plus, a lot of it is gRPC. So the messaging protocol is in gRPC. So doing it in Go makes a lot of sense. One other blockchain that I've not used written at the protocol level is Hyperledger Sawtooth, which I used to work with. That's written initially in Python, but the performance was terrible. So instead of jumping to Go, they went to Rust itself. So that's the only one that I know has not done that much Go.
Fair enough, makes sense. And I'd be interested to hear, actually, obviously you've got a large amount of experience with Go, as we've just seen. From your side, I don't know if you had a chance to think about this at all, so I might be putting you on the spot slightly, but are there any industries or areas of technology that that Go hasn't sort of been used in yet that you think it could be? Any sort of types of business or anything like that?
Well, obviously, if you go to the banking industry, the traditional banking, I say traditional as in less than 5-year-old, those are more than 5-year-old banking industry, say minus Monzo and a few of the, like, for example, I understand that even Atom Bank is trying to shift from some of that to Go because they see that Go is so much more easier. So there's still quite a lot of Hangouts and still working using Java. I know that a lot of new fintech startup are starting to use Go rather than using Java. So yeah, a lot of traditional type banking industry still using a lot of Java, not even the latest Java as well, and some are still using COBOL. So that speaks volume about how far they are behind. But my understanding is that most of the newer startup companies have tend to look at Go. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if more of the traditional banks follow something like a Monzo model in the future. Well, yeah, thanks very much, Paul. That's very interesting, and I'm sure everyone else will agree. So we'll get this on LinkedIn soon. But yeah, thanks very much for your time.
Okay.
All the best, and speak soon.
Okay, thanks.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, bye.